Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of CyberTalk. This week we're doing things a little different. It's just me, it's just audio, and I want to talk to you about something that is on our mind. Recently, Cato has launched RBI. That is Remote Browser Isolation. But I've had quite a few people nudge me and say, "Hey Robin, what is Remote Browser Isolation?" So I thought on this week's episode of CyberTalk, I'll just give you a little rundown. Now, in a nutshell, RBI is a technology that aims to protect users and organizations from web-based threats by executing and rendering web content in a separate and secure environment. Now, typically, this is a remote server, container, or some form of proxy. This ensures that potentially malicious content never directly reaches the user's device, thereby reducing the risk of cyber attacks such as malware, ransomware, and phishing. We're trying to protect you. Now, if you've never heard about RBI before, I want to really press and stress the importance of RBI. It can't be overstated. Now, as we all know, the internet is an integral part of our lives, both personally and professionally. We rely on it to communicate, collaborate, and access information, and maybe watch some really funny memes when we have the time. However, this connectivity also exposes us to a myriad of cybersecurity threats that can lead to significant financial and reputational losses, as well as compromise sensitive data. Now, in recent years, we've seen a steady increase in the sophistication of cyber attacks, with attackers using a variety of methods to exploit vulnerabilities in browsers and operating systems. Now, this is where RBI, Remote Browser Isolation, can come into play as a valuable line of defense. It aims to protect users from such threats, which are often not detected by traditional security measures like antivirus software and firewalls. Now, you might be thinking, how does RBI work? It's another layer of security. Sure, we already have secure web gateways, we have next-generation anti-malware, we already have IPS. But RBI adds an extra layer to the onion of security, the converged onion. At its core, the concept is pretty simple. Now, instead of loading and rendering web content directly on a user's device, an RBI solution creates an isolated environment, often on a remote server, where the content is executed and rendered. This isolated environment is known as a remote browser or remote container. Now, because of this, once content is rendered, the remote browser then sends a safe, interactive visual stream to the user's device, just like pixels. This stream is similar to a user watching a video or an image, and the user can interact with it as if they were using a regular browser. Now, since the actual content never reaches the user's device, any malicious code or content that might be presented is contained within the remote environment, effectively isolating the user from potential threats. This means things like downloads, drive-by attacks, accidental script injection, all of that disappears. Now, one of the most significant advantages of RBI is that it's not really reliant on signature-based detection, which means it can protect against zero-day threats and other known vulnerabilities, such as unregistered and unclassified domains, or domains that have been seen as malicious. Or even if you go into the Cato management application, you can configure specific domains or categories that you want to isolate. This provides an additional layer of security to complement existing security solutions, such as your typical antivirus, your software, your firewalls, and any other piece of network security equipment you have on your network. RBI is powerful. RBI protects your users from themselves. As if you're delving around the internet on a research stream and you accidentally click on a website that has been intentionally crafted to look legitimate, then before you know it, you are in a world of pain and you've got keyloggers and rootkits and trojans all in the gubbins of your computer. And if you're a security admin, that's going to lead to help desk tickets and people panicking. With RBI, as the session is proxied, as the session is in a sandbox environment, the user doesn't directly interact with the malicious website. That means that if you have pre-filled credit card information stored in your browser cache or usernames and passwords, you're not unintentionally handing these over to malicious attackers because you're protected, you're connected. Now, you might be wondering, what are some typical cases for RBI? I know I've covered a few. Now, the biggest one, in my opinion, is secure browsing in enterprise environments. Organizations often need to provide their employees with access to the internet for research and communication purposes. However, this exposes the organization's network to potential threats. RBI can be deployed to provide a secure browsing environment for employees while keeping malicious content contained within that environment. It's secure. The remote browsing is secure browsing. Here at Cato, we use the URL of securebrowsing.catonetworks.com so your users know that you are secure. But that's one use case, but it's probably the biggest use case. The second is to protect against phishing attacks. Now, phishing attacks, we've talked about this many times on CyberTalk, are a common method used by attackers to trick users into revealing sensitive information. This could be things such as login credentials or financial data. By isolating web content in a remote environment, RBI can help prevent such attacks by preventing malicious content from ever reaching the user's device. Now, another use case, I'm going to call this use case 3. I'm going to start counting. You can safeguard sensitive information. Now, in industries such as finance, healthcare, and government, organizations often handle a large amount of sensitive information. Now, RBI can be used to protect this data by isolating web content, ensuring that any potential threats are contained within that remote environment. All it takes is one threat actor to come over to your network, steal your cache, steal your cookies, steal your session credentials, and before you know it, they have all of the usernames and passwords stored on the local user machine. Because even Google are now pushing people to use autofill data for credit card information and more. That, to me, is a hole on your network. RBI can help safeguard against these attacks by adding that extra layer of security, the obfuscation. Now, use case number 4. This is supporting the bring your own device, the BYOD policy. As more organizations adopt BYOD policies, the risk of introducing vulnerabilities through personal devices increases 100-fold. I just pulled that number out of my head. RBI can help mitigate this risk by providing a secure browsing environment on personal devices, ensuring that any malicious content is isolated and does not compromise the organization's network. This means if somebody comes to your branch office and you have remote browser isolation enabled, well, you don't really have to worry about somebody accessing a shady site and then trying to infect or exfiltrate your data. It's all protected. Now, secure access to cloud-based applications is vital. It's critical. We're all using cloud applications today. Every SaaS vendor out there, or every vendor is moving to a SaaS route. So we need to ensure that everything is secured. And this is my use case number 5. As organizations increasingly rely on cloud-based apps for their day-to-day operations, ensuring secure access to these applications is critical. Now, RBI can provide that additional layer of security by isolating any web-based interactions, such as logging in or uploading sensitive data. Now, this reduces the risk of data breaches, and access to critical systems is maintained because you have that extra layer of obfuscation. This extends to protecting your remote workers as well. Now, we all know if we're working from home, if we're working from a cafe, if we're traveling outside of the corporate network, most organizations haven't adopted a full zero trust policy. So there's a full range of intermittent policies, connectivities, and often dark spots where you have no visibility about who's doing what on your network. This is where RBI can step in and help people. If you have a always-on Cato client and you connect the SDP agent to the Cato SASE cloud, this will minimize the attack surface because we can help provide remote browser isolation to these users. That means your users can work from anywhere and you can kick back, relax, and know that your security policy will follow them around everywhere. Even if some people might want to access the shady websites for legitimate, illegitimate, or educational desires. But hey, that's up to you to decide what they can have. Now, this, from personal experience, I've seen a lot in education. Now, educational institutions, universities, schools, colleges, this is always a prime target for cyber attacks due to their extensive networks and large amounts of sensitive data. Students are often trusting and willing and, honestly, a little more tech savvy or willing to engage with tech. So often threat actors will go towards these type of areas. Now, by isolating, by securing and protecting, you take these innocent students, you take these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed people who think CCNA is the industry standard that they have to get into the world of networking, and you protect their sweet little cheeks because RBI is there to ensure that they do not get to a shady website. Their dissertation, their thesis is not leaked to the world, and they can keep moving forward, happy as Larry. Now, this remote browser isolation expands to collaboration sometimes. Now, in the world of RBI, and RBI has been around for, I think 6 years now, 2017, I remember it first appearing. I was starting to see a lot of organizations collaborating with each other and sharing data from one silo to another. But whenever data moves from one organization to a second organization, there's always going to be an opportunity for a threat actor to jump in there and try and steal that data. Whether it be using waterhole attacks, or maybe it's going to be spear phishing attacks or DNS spoofing, this is a problem. Now, if we look at a waterhole attack, and if you're not familiar with waterhole attacks, this is where you would look at, you'd compromise a legitimate website that is frequented by a target audience. So effectively, google.com, if it was compromised, people could be redirected to a different site. But as far as the user is concerned, everything goes well. Now, if this happens, and a good RBI service should be able to identify that this has happened, and then automatically redirect the traffic to a secure browsing environment. With Cato Networks, yes, we can do that. We can do that very, very easy. So data transfer between multiple organizations through web, we can ensure that the right locations are being accessed. Waterhole attacks, well, we can use our reputation engines, our single pass cloud engine, and the RBI service all under one banner to ensure that everything is safe and sensitive, which is all good. What other use cases are there, Robin? Oh, here's a good one. Public Wi-Fi. Yeah, this is often a fun one. Anytime you're out and about, traveling in airports, sometimes you get really bad signal. Your LTE, your 3G, your 5G doesn't appear. So instead, you decide to hop on and find if the airport has free Wi-Fi, and often it does. But if you don't pay for a product, you are the product. Whether this be through advertising, whether this through data harvesting, or sometimes in the threat landscape, somebody has spoofed a wireless access point. They're looking to do SSL stripping, version beaconing, and trying to steal your traffic, either through another crafted waterhole or just taking plain text when they can. It's incredibly easy to do. Now, with RBI, you can start looking at this network, and you can protect users when on public Wi-Fi by isolating their browser activities. So all of this can be configured within the Cato management application, or if you're using another RBI vendor, they generally have a way to do it. But protecting against public Wi-Fi is very important, and that often extends to security for mobile devices as well. Because as the Internet of Things is expanding, as IoT is becoming more and more popular, well, you kind of have to start protecting yourself more and more against these IoT threats. Now, remote browser isolation is a powerful and versatile cybersecurity solution, and it can be applied in various scenarios to provide additional layers of protection against all forms of web-based threats. Now, by isolating web content in a separate, secure environment, RBI effectively prevents malicious content from reaching the user's device, reducing the risk of cyber attacks, data breaches, and other security incidents. As cyber threats continue to evolve and become more sophisticated, it is essential, I will repeat that, it is essential for organizations and individuals to adopt comprehensive security measures to protect their data and systems. Now, implementing RBI solutions, along with other security technologies and best practices, is something that everything and everybody should be doing. It can significantly enhance an organization's overall security posture and help safeguard sensitive information. But, and I have to give this as a big but, RBI is not a silver bullet that can single-handedly eliminate all cyber threats. It serves as a valuable component in a multi-layered security approach. Multi-layer is key. Now, combining RBI with other security solutions such as network security, endpoint protection, threat intelligence, all of these layers creates a robust defense against the ever-changing landscape of cyber threats. Moreover, it is essential to recognize that this technology alone is not enough to secure the environment. Employee training and awareness programs should also be an integral part of any organization's security training or security strategy. Ensuring that employees understand the risks associated with web-based threats and are aware of best practices for safe browsing can significantly reduce the chances of successful cyber attacks. Now, if any of you out there have ever tried running dedicated and explicit phishing campaigns against your users, you might be surprised on how many people click links and how many people fail at phishing simulation. So you must ensure that you have good phishing training, you have good user awareness and web browsing training, because if you don't, well, your data is going to get breached, your information is going to be leaked, and you are going to have more and more sleepless nights as your C-level execs hammer on your door and say, why didn't you do X, Y, Z? Why are we in this position? And why do I have to go to the media and make a press briefing saying that all of our sensitive data is leaked? You don't want to be in that position. You need visibility, you need security, and you need consistency of policy wherever you are. Organizations, your business, you listener, you should strive to create a culture of security, where cybersecurity is not merely an afterthought, but it is ingrained in every aspect of the business. This includes adopting security by design principles, where security considerations are integrated into the development and deployment of products, services, and applications in the outset. It's crucial for organizations to stay informed about the latest cybersecurity trends as well, including any developments and threat intelligence. By staying up to date on emerging threats and vulnerabilities, you can proactively adapt your security strategy and make informed decisions about the deployment of solutions like RBI. Now, if you are choosing a SASE vendor like Cato Networks, you don't really have to worry too much about emerging threats and vulnerabilities because we mitigate and protect on the edge. But as a cybersecurity practitioner, even though Cato keeps you protected, I would still personally validate continuous understanding of the security landscape. If there's a new significant vulnerability out there, you should know what's happening. You should be on top of it. So by the time that anyone else in your organization comes and asks you, "Hey, Steve, I saw this vulnerability in the paper. It has a good logo," you can say, "Yes, boss. Yes, friend," whoever it might be. "I know what this is. Cato's protecting us. And here's the steps that we need to take on our infrastructure to validate and patch that vulnerability." Now, more and more companies out there are embracing the buzzword, which everybody hates, of digital transformation. And all things are moving to cloud-based services. So the need for robust cybersecurity solutions such as RBI are only going to grow. It's essential that we, as cybersecurity professionals and enthusiasts, continue to educate ourselves and others about the benefits of RBI and other cutting-edge technologies that can help protect our digital world. By working together and sharing our collective knowledge, we can share a safer and more secure internet for everyone. Now, I'm a huge advocate of SASE, the Single Access Service Edge. I think that's what we need. All data going through a single pass cloud engine, all of the data having a single context, a shared context, which are only inspected once. I think that is vital, and that's honestly why I work for Cato Networks. I believe it's the industry-leading SASE solution, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Cato employee. I'm saying that because I believe in the solution. Now, in a single-pass SASE architecture, and if you're looking at other SASE vendors out there and they aren't legitimately single-pass, I would highly, highly recommend you steer clear of it. All traffic, including web traffic, is routed through a SASE platform, and this should provide integrated security services such as secure web gateways, cloud access security brokers, firewalls as a service, DDoS prevention, zero trust network access, and more. It should provide the entire gamut, the entire suite of security solutions. So when RBI is integrated into this architecture, and with Cato, it's literally a simple toggle, it's so simple, it can work in tandem to provide a more comprehensive defense against web threats. So I'm kind of running, this is a rant, I'm enjoying this rant. So let's have a look about how RBI can work in parallel with other solutions in a SASE context. So integration with a secure web gateway, an SWG. As web traffic passes through the SWG, it's often inspected for potential threats. Now, if RBI and Secure Web Gateway are working together on a single-pass SASE platform, any web content deemed potentially risky can be isolated and rendered in a remote browser environment. This ensures the malicious content never, ever reaches the user's device, protecting them from threats such as malware, ransomware, and our good old friend, phishing. We can also use RBI to enhance our zero trust network access. So ZTNA solutions generally work on the principle of granting access to network resources based around a user's identity and context. We can talk more about ZTNA in the future, and that's pretty exciting. Now, by incorporating RBI into a ZTNA-enabled SASE platform, organizations can further reduce their attack surface by isolating that web content, preventing malicious content from compromising user devices or infiltrating the network. Now, how does RBI work with CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker? They complement each other. CASBs provide visibility and control over the use of cloud-based applications within an organization. When integrated with RBI, CASBs can ensure that any web content access to cloud applications is also isolated, reducing the risk of data breaches and unauthorized access to sensitive information. This works together in tandem. It's like having two really strong friends just kind of handshaking each other and protecting you from drunk people outside a bar at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, how else can RBI work? Oh, let's have a look at firewall as a service as well. This helps strengthen firewall as a service. So FWAS, I like the acronym, everything is as. Firewall as a service solutions provide network security and threat prevention as a cloud-based service. When combined with RBI, firewall as a service can offer additional protection against web-based threats by isolating potentially malicious content within a remote environment. RBI, remote browser isolation. I keep saying that word. Hopefully by this end of this podcast, you will know what RBI is, or at least have an inkling, and you decide to go to the internet and research. RBI is a necessity in organizations. If you can compromise your RBI traffic, you have a bad RBI solution. This is why you need RBI integrated into a single pass SASE architecture. This will not just provide one layer of security. This provides multiple layers of security all in one converged platform to secure against web-based threats. And this complements all of your existing security services already offered by the SASE platform. By isolating potentially harmful web content in a remote environment, RBI can help organizations, you, your friends, your continued employment career because you're still employed because nothing's gone wrong. It can help you protect. It's protecting your users, your devices, your networks, your branch offices, your sensitive data from the ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats. This combination of services provides a more comprehensive security posture and enables organizations to embrace digital transformation with confidence. Now, if you want to know more about RBI, I'll probably put out another YouTube video sometime soon showing how you can enable it with Cato Networks, and we're looking 30 seconds maximum to go from not protected to fully protected against all edges. Hopefully, this has been educational, informative, and sparked a little bit of interest in your brain. As security practitioners, as threat researchers, as threat actors if you're listening, it's okay to not know something. And RBI for many has never cropped up when you've had these discussions. You might have heard about browser isolation or secure browsing or remote sessions in the past and looked at the deployment complexity and decided, that's not really for me. With Cato Networks, with our single pass cloud engine, with our converged SASE stack, it's very, very easy. And in my personal opinion, you'd be a fool to not even explore or demo this possibility. Thanks for listening, folks. Until next time, have a great day.